The next step is our block quotes have centered text, and they also have a border around them. Okay, let's do that. I'm going to target all block quote elements, and I'm going to make sure that they have a border. And what is the border? It's going to be white, but how wide should it be? We'll say 1 pixel. And next, should it be dashed? Should it be solid? How do we do it? We have to explicitly state we want it solid white. I'm going to refresh, and there we are. But if we come back, remember the text was centered. So we can use a property called text align. Now this will accept a handful of values, including left, right, center, or justify. Now justify is similar to maybe if you're reading a book where all of the text will go to a certain mark on the right side of the page. And the way they do this is by slightly adjusting the space between each word to make sure that every single line ends at the exact same spot. Generally in the web design industry, you'll find it's frowned upon. Web design and web copy is not the same as print. So usually you want to stick with left. Try not to center all of your text. It looks amateurish, but in this case, we'll get away with it. I'm going to come back and refresh, and that's looking good. Now, a couple more things we need to do here though. I want you to notice the border of our block quote lines up perfectly with our headings. Lines are important in web design, but in this case, it's not. And why is that? And that's because it is picking up the browser's default style sheet. And the default styling for a block quote is to indent it ever so slightly with a bit of margin. They do that by using margin left. But in this case, I want to zero that out. I don't want any of it. So I will set it to 0. And if I come back, refresh, that's looking a lot better now. So good job. If you've gotten all of these right, pat yourself on the back. You have one last thing though. I'm going to expand this and note that our example first website is centered, whereas what we have right here is taking up all of the available space, as you can see with the block quote right here. So we need to specify a width to our website and make sure that it is centered. Now we could have applied this to the body element, and we could have said width 600 pixels. It doesn't matter what value you specified as long as you understood that you needed to limit the width. I'm going to refresh, and now can you see that it's no longer taking up all of the available space, it's only taking up 600 pixels worth. And then we're going to use the trick we learned in a previous lesson of specifying that the margin left and the margin right have to be identical in width. And now that centers that on the page. Now, while we could have done this on the body element, and this is perfectly okay for simple websites, what's more common is you'll see developers use a wrapping div. So they might do something like this, div class equals wrap, and then they will surround all of their primary content within. And then rather than using the body, they will place this styling within the parent wrap. Now, if I refresh, we're getting the same effect, but this is a little bit cleaner. For larger projects, you'll want to do this in most cases. So the last thing we'll go over, you might be wondering, why did I use a class rather than an ID? Now, if we refresh, that won't take effect anymore because remember, we use periods for classes, pound signs for identifiers. Now, we could use an ID, and that would probably be okay. In fact, most of the time, this will be okay. However, if you anticipate yourself needing this styling for anything else, it's always a good practice to use classes. Now, there are a variety of reasons why this is true. A lot of them are a little higher level when it comes to cascading and selector weight. I don't want you to worry about any of that for now. Just think about it from the basic standpoint of, will I need these stylings again? And if yes, use a class. So good job if you followed along. If you did all of this on your own without seeing the answers first, excellent work. This is very simple, mind you, but it is an actual website that you could upload to your web host. Now in the next lesson, I'm going to teach you about CSS floats.